I'm David Rudy.
Hi, I'm Jenna.
Me and my colleagues want to talk to you about industrial agriculture in the US and the many interconnected issues that stem from this wicked sustainability problem. Widely practiced monoculture literally wipes out biologically diverse regions in favor of a single species, and the overuse of pesticides and fertilizers cause vulnerable ecosystems to collapse. This is troubling because a decline in biodiversity is like a diminishing life insurance policy. Each and every stakeholder to this problem, from the agricultural corporations to farmers to the everyday consumer, is risking the safe biological future of Earth for short-term profit. One plausible scenario going forward is that things will continue business as usual, with a lack of federal intervention or incentivization for a shift towards more sustainable agriculture. The demand for biofuel via corn-based ethanol as a transition fuel, as well as Americans' eating habits, could continue to drive the demand for monocropping, making the second plausible scenario more difficult to achieve, yet more necessary. The goal scenario would be a shift towards food intimacy and government intervention to make that happen. With a shift towards local, small to mid-sized farms and more conscious food choices, biodiversity may return. But this is easier said than done and requires time and the efforts of the US government. Now we will hear from Max about our vision for the future of industrial agriculture in the US and some fundamental challenges and barriers that will come along with that. Thank you.
Thanks, Megan. Our vision for the future of agriculture in the United States must involve a transition from our current system of industrialized, large-scale factory farms to one focused on smaller, sustainable farms. How do we do this? First, I need to mention some barriers that currently stand in our way. Three key barriers prevent us from fully realizing this vision. First, benefits of sustainable practices are often delayed and patience is required for this vision to come to fruition. Second, a focus on technological advances regarding sustainable farming practices is required. Lastly, rented farmland creates a situation where separate parties are involved in the ownership and cultivation of land, thus creating a disconnect where inaction can thrive. Changes to fundamental values and norms will be required from all stakeholders involved in order to create a sustainable future for all. All stakeholders involved, including farmers, large agricultural corporations, the government, and most importantly, the general public, need to make fundamental changes in our behavior. From farmers transitioning to smaller scale farms, to corporations focusing on sustainability rather than profit, to government provided subsidies and incentives, and to the general public, which must keep a close watch on other stakeholders while concentrating on consuming locally sourced foods. We must make these changes in order to realize this vision of sustainable methods of farming and consumption. And now, here's David.
Thanks, Max. So how do we know whether we're moving toward or away from our goal? Well, we use indicators, and one such example is artificial fertilizer use. As you can see on the graph, the blue line shows that artificial fertilizer use increased rapidly between 1960 and the mid-1970s and has remained relatively constant ever since. We can also measure freshwater populations in nearby lakes and streams, since this gives a good idea of how bad the local eutrophication is. And finally, we can measure local food purchasing rates to see how well the average consumer is buying into our transition strategy, both literally and figuratively. So at the beginning of our transition strategy, we need to facilitate dialogues between tenants and landowners about sustainability. The blue portion of this chart shows that roughly 1/3 of all farmland within the United States is rented, and other studies show that tenants can be hesitant to broach the subject of sustainability with landowners out of fear of losing their status as tenants. We also need to create programs that promote the coexistence of multiple crops within the same field, as well as putting livestock in those crops. This will yield us natural fertilizers as well as natural pest control. And the goal of these measures is to reduce intermediary goods usage, shown as the yellow line in the chart, by 75% within 5 years. And now I'll hand it over to Jenna.
Thanks, David. So next in our transition strategy, we have securing a market for small to mid-sized farming through education. So with intercropping comes that intimate relationship between farmers, their crops, and their livestock. But with that, there is a need to lessen the demand for meat products. So how might we make that transition to farms with lesser quantities of livestock a little simpler? Well, we can do that by providing public school districts with local plant-based meals. Because our progress targets are based on the reestablishment of species of freshwater bodies, it is crucial that our strategy involves sustained shift in human habit. We will be starting up a local community group headed by the 4 of us, based in education. We will develop workshops for our farmers that will include information on benefits of intercropping as well as funding options for the transition. One option is the Farmers Market Promotion Program, which funds projects with farm-to-institution models, which will be ideal for our farm-to-school model, as well as how to apply for farm-to-school programs. A good shoe-in program is the USDA Department of Fresh Fruits and Vegetables program, which this is an asset that is designed to contract producers with suppliers to distribute fresh products to schools. And then on the student end, we will be developing curriculum into our schools. This curriculum will be focused on the health and environmental benefits of plant-based diets, as well as local food sourcing benefits, as opposed to outsourcing. And we can fund this through the Farm to School grant program by educating our producers and consumers on the benefits of change and enabling them to make that transition themselves. Our stakeholders will be empowered to take part in this transition. Not only will the students want to consume more local plant-based products, our farmers will want to provide more plant products due to the community obligation and long-term benefits. Ultimately, the strategy will aid in closing the circle on the agricultural system, decreasing the amount of animal and chemical runoff entering the freshwater bodies, as well as recycling the waste to benefit the other systems of the farms.